Welcome to A Guide to Every Deck in EDH. Today we are looking at Zirda the Dawnwaker, and this is as a commander, not a companion. So Zirda is a 3-mana white-red hybrid 3/3, and it's got companion, but that's not relevant for what we're doing. So the main relevance here is it has abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities, cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana in that cost to less than 1 mana. It also happens to have 1 tap target creature can't block this turn, but that's basically irrelevant. We're playing it for this middle ability, the cost reduction clause. It's also notable that many of these same type of effects like Training Grounds and Biomancer's Familiar only reduce the activated abilities on creatures, whereas Zerta reduces the activated abilities on anything. So with that said, what are we doing with Zerta? Well, the most obvious and straightforward thing is to combine it with Basalt Monolith or Grim Monolith to produce infinite mana. So Basalt Monolith and Grim Monolith are cards that tap for mana and then untap for mana. In the case of Basalt, it taps and untaps for the same amount, and in the case of Grim, it taps for 3 and untaps for 4. But with Zerta reducing the cost to untap by 2, it means that both of these will produce infinite colorless mana when you have a Zerta in play. And from there, all you need is an infinite outlet. In this case, it is going to be Goblin Cannon. 2 mana, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player, sack Goblin Cannon, so you can just hold priority after each activation and keep activating it over and over and over, and then just let all of the abilities resolve, dealing infinite damage to all of your opponents. And Staff of Domination, which can draw your entire deck, and then you can just play Goblin Cannon. There is also Meticulous Excavation in here, which in combination with Dockside Extortionist is 2 mana to cast Dockside and 3 mana to pick it back up. So if your opponents have a combined total of 6 artifacts and or enchantments, that means you're producing 1 more treasure than it costs to cast and bounce it. And obviously in combination with Zerta, Zerta reduces this ability to only a single white mana, in which case you can reduce the number of artifacts and enchantments your opponents control that you need to just 4 instead of 6. Outside of this particular combo shenanigans with Zerta, the rest of the deck is pretty straightforward. There's all the typical things that you would expect: the One Ring, Trouble in Pairs, Esper Sentinel, ways of protecting Zerta or just interacting with your opponent. So all the red counters, Tybalt's Trickery, Red Blast, Burnout, Aven Interrupter as another way of protecting Zerta. A bunch of fast mana because you're just a pretty linear Glass Cannon combo deck that's just trying to get Zerta out and then one of those combo pieces as fast as possible. A bunch of protection spells, again, to protect Zerta, things like Giver and Mother of Runes, Grand Abolisher, Defense Grid, a whole bunch of ramp, some removal spells. And then obviously tutors. The main thing we're going to be wanting to do is tutor up Basalt and or Grim Monolith. So we're going to want things that find artifacts. So those cards are going to be Goblin Engineer, Enlightened Tutor, Moonsilver Key, Oswald, Inventor's Fair. You could play the Gamble cards in red, but you're always risking that you accidentally discard the card that you tutored up, in which case you can only get it back with something like Goblin Engineer. I'm not too fond of those. And a little bit of stacks. Now, aside from all of the usual, there are a few things to highlight due to Zerta's ability. So outside of just the combo pieces, there are a number of cards that now become viable as a result of Zerta reducing the cost to activate them to just 2 less mana. The first of those is Fires of Mount Doom. So this is a 3 mana legendary enchantment, and it says, when it enters, it deals 2 damage to target creature and opponent controls, destroy all equipment attached to that creature, but more importantly, it's got 2 red. Exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. When you play a card this way, Fires of Mount Doom deals 2 damage to each player. That includes you. So with Zerta in play, this reduces the activated ability to just a single red mana, meaning for just 1 red mana, you can impulse draw. Pretty good. War Room is also a land that lets you draw, which is usually too cumbersome to be worthwhile, but here Zerta makes it just a single colorless mana to draw a card. Amongst our lands, obviously, Inventor's Fair gets cheaper, but so does Fomori Vault. Again, we are trying to find artifacts, so it is important for this card to be here, and it gets reduced to only a single generic mana. Buried Ruin, also, if we lose our Basalt or Grim Monolith, or maybe we do the Goblin Cannon combo, and for whatever reason it doesn't work, and then Goblin Cannon goes to our graveyard, this is a way we can get it back. The Ancient Den and Great Furnace here have multiple uses. Primarily, they're for making Mox Opal get Metalcraft online, and for Inventor's Fair also getting online. Also notably, Urza's Saga gets reduced to only a single mana to activate to make a construct. And Bonder's Ornament gets to join our suite of ramp cards, which we normally would never play because it's a 3 mana rock. But we get to reduce the cost of this ability. 4 tap, each player who controls a permanent named Bonder's Ornament draws a card, meaning this only costs 2. And finally, we have Rampaging War Mammoth. We are primarily interested in this for its cycling ability. So it says when you cycle it, destroy up to X target artifacts. So we can cycle it for just a single red mana, and then for however much mana more than that we're willing to pay, we can blow up artifacts on the field in a way that is also usually uncounterable. I doubt you will ever actually hardcast this as a 7 mana 9/7 trampler, but you do have that option as well. So with all that said, that is going to do it for Zirda the Dawnwaker for EDH.